Hello to anyone watching this video. Um, I'm going to be going through Immortals Phoenix Rising, but not as like a walkthrough or like a total recap, but as a progression of my character from what you'll see here of basically still in Tutorial Island, biting way more than I can
buddy.
chew. As you can see with my 3 health bars against a Cerberus, I have no concept of how the dodge and sprint system works yet. I don't know how to abuse the stun lock mechanics. I don't know how to put most damage in. I have 2 godly powers, which is Heracles' Strength and Apollo's Arrow. I have 1 health potion. I have no buff or defense potions. And I've got some... Well, I guess the stamina doesn't really matter in a fight where you're not using god powers, but as you can see, I'm just running around in circles here, trying my best to stay out of the fire. Bare minimum gameplay right here, getting my ass whooped. Thankfully, I do know how to dodge, but that's mostly just from games like Dark Souls. This game is very Dark Souls-like in a lot of ways. In the combat mechanics, it expects you to learn about 3-4 usually moves per creature that you're fighting. This particular creature, I don't know if it's just because he's on red mode, which is a lesser version of him, or if it's because it's just how chimeras are, but the chimera only has a couple of moves. He swipes at you a couple of times and throws fire at you. The purple chimeras, all the creatures get to a purple stage eventually, which is like maximum difficulty for everything. But I don't know if they have more move sets or not. I didn't really ever notice that, because by the time I get to purple creatures, I don't let them survive long enough to do anything, because I don't trust them because of how much goddamn damage they do. So that was me fighting a chimera way too early. Now, in this one, we got me throwing rocks at a bird, a harpy, I should say.
Yes.
I saw these things and I started experimenting with my godly powers to see what I could get away with and what I could do and what was fun, and I found all these rocks at the bottom of this hill that I was supposed to clear for the pearl, but then I found these birds over here in the way of where I was going, so I figured I'd hit 2 birds with 5 stones and get those out of the way. We have here is the end of a constellation myth, which you go around and you collect a bunch of orbs and put them onto a pad in a particular order based off of what it wants you to put them on. It shows you a picture of how it wants it. Kind of defeats the purpose. They should just, I don't know. It makes sense though. And so, final one goes in, it links it up, it shows you the constellation, you get some Charon coins, which are used for leveling up your skills and godly powers. Finally. And at this point you can see down there in the big circle grass pit, there's a few columns and there's a creature in the center of it. I had already attempted this guy multiple times before. When I say multiple, I mean like 3, 4, maybe 5 times before I gave up and said, that's enough of that. Until you get to a certain point with your character, you can't really take on creatures like this without just getting whooped on. It's also a lot of understanding the move pools of a Minotaur, for example. He has 3 different moves that I distinctively know. The gore move right there, and then he has a little combo that he does where he swipes twice, and then his third swipe is an unblockable, unparryable, whatever you want to call it, because we don't have block, we just have parry or dodge. You can't parry it, dodge it. And then he's got his charge move, you got to dodge that. It does have some amount of tracking to it. If you're wondering why he's all sparkly and shit, that would be because he's legendary. and there's a legendary version of pretty much every type of creature in the game. I think there's one legendary of each, if I'm not mistaken. I know there's a whole bunch of lieutenants of all kinds of different types. And those are like the second rung up the ladder, but legendary is definitely like top of the heap. There's a couple of special exceptions to that. There's a Medusa, for example, she's in her own class. You don't fight Medusas otherwise. There's those fat things that I guess are Medusas, but Medusa's a name, so I don't remember what the name of the creature is. Point is, she's a one-time thing, and she pops up as a quest in Hermes, whatever the hell his list of quests. It's a Hermes quest. We'll just call it that. So as you can see, I'm fighting this boss, and I'm still pretty new to the game at this point. I've probably only got like maybe 10 hours into it, I think, and I don't. You'll see me not use any of my godly powers because I'm not even thinking about them. All I'm thinking about is getting damage in, and the only thing I think about when I'm doing damage is R1 and R2. But that stun that I just got him into would have been a whole heck of a lot easier if I had used godly powers, because the god powers have a ridiculous amount of stun attached to them. Later in the game I actually abuse it to a point of stun locking mega bosses like the Medusa. I stun locked and she couldn't even do anything about it, which is funny because she's supposed to teleport around, but there's ways around that with timing. But yeah, so I'm still getting my ass whipped. I still keep getting hit, even though I know his moveset now. Back then I was still like kind of like frustrated with the whole concept of he could go whenever he wants. So you see me stand there and wait for him because I don't know when he's gonna go. I still don't know when he's gonna go, but nowadays I'd probably just wait for him to move once. I would dodge, and then I'd Ares Wrath charge, and then it would probably take up 75 to 100% of his stun bar, and then I'd just sit there and mash R1 until he almost came back to wake mode again. And then I'd Ares Wrath him again right when he was waking up and stun lock him. But that's a pretty cheap way of playing the game. But sometimes, I mean, in Nightmare mode, I played Nightmare mode a little bit, and it's pretty much the only option you have is to stun lock. So as the game progressed, I, started feeling like I needed to 100% everything, and I started going for everything I possibly could, taking on all the challenges. The night chests were difficult. When you first start doing them, it's just crazy to have that many creatures all at the same time. When you first take on your first night chest, you probably haven't seen that many all at the same spot. And when you get later in the game, this is pretty commonplace. Like everywhere you go has like 5 things sitting around, and they're all purple and they're all pissed. You can see me starting to use godly powers a little bit, but I don't really understand where and when to use them. Like, I had no reason to use that shield there, and now I'm like way deep in my stamina, and I can't do anything while it's red. And I'm sitting here trying to light attack a shield guy. That little sprinty running R2 though, that one, oh, that is abusable. It does a ridiculous amount of stun, does a pretty decent amount of damage. It's really easy to pull off, and it comes from a mobility, and it doesn't use any stamina, and you can just spam it. All you gotta do is sprint and R2, sprint and R2, and if you adjust your control settings to make sprint a different button than the dash button, you can start sprinting without having to dash first, allowing you to abuse it even further. I chose not to do that. So in this particular fight, this would be my first time fighting multiple blues, I think? Yeah. Multiple Multiple mythicals, I think is what the blue ones are called. I don't remember. But it was the first time fighting 3 of these, and they're all pretty big bosses. And, not bosses, but pretty big creatures. They've all got ridiculous movesets. I think that was my first, I think this is my first Cerberus fight as well. I think I'm in War's Den right now. And I was cruising through. As you can see, I don't have very much health than I did before. And I wasn't really going for a lot of ambrosia because I just felt overwhelmed by having to get 10 to get 1 chunk of health, but after a while I finally realized that I needed to do that because some creatures were coming down and slapping 3/4 of my health in one go. Thankfully, kept the focus on the Cerberus and just got rid of them. Got a little indicator projectile, and so I dodged it, but quick Heracles throw. I was really impressed with that one. But the fight overall is pretty boring. This fight is boring. It was just exciting to be at the time because this was a big deal to be taken on this much. It's the taking a fight. What's the phrase? Fighting out more than you can chew. There we go. Yeah, that. I knew the phrase. I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but I really wanted that guarded chest that they got down there, and so because I was trying to get as much stuff as I could, I was trying to complete as much as I could, and I was like, well, I guess they're in my way, so I just started getting this approach, this mindset of I'm just gonna kill everything in order to pick up everything. I really want this box, and I'm just gonna have to do it, and it made the game a lot simpler in a lot of ways. Now this fight is of particular interest to me because it was the first time fighting a legendary that I didn't take any damage. Showing that I finally got to a comfortability with my character and reading what the enemy does and understanding how to move around well enough to take on a creature that size without getting hit. Now I might have got hit once, but if memory serves, I didn't get hit at all. But the point of the video was I didn't get hit hardly at all. And I just pissed it off by throwing that log. I was trying to bonk him in the head and get some free stun, but he wasn't having none of that. Now you see, like, I charged it up all the way and it took like half the stun gauge on a legendary. Yeah. And then fire, of course, because Chimera, but we'll see what happens. See there, instead of trying to dodge around him, I dodged a couple of times, but I immediately picked myself back up and started sprinting, knowing that I gotta actually move if I want to get out of the fire's circle. Using that sprint and heavy just to get the stun on him, finish him off. But yeah, no damage, and he's out of here. I think the best part about this game has to be the puzzles, and the uniquity and the think out of the box mentality that it gives you. Like this ambrosia over here, you would think, how the hell am I supposed to get all the way over there? And well, I mean, you could say that the obvious thing to do is to just leap and fly, but really, for someone who isn't quite comfortable with how far their character can go yet, and they don't know if they can get away with that or not, that's kind of a leap of faith. And so that little jump there was really fun, because it was like, I mean, even though it's really simple and really stupid, and anybody who played the game for more than a few hours would probably try it out, you really don't know if you're going to make it or not. And sometimes the game will throw things at you and make you think, oh, you're going to make it? Oh, no, you're not. You have to do this now instead because something else is blocking your path, or, you know, whatever it may be. King's Rock or King's Peak is an example of that, where players might try to go there and find out the hard way that they can't go there. And that's too sad. Too bad, so sad. But the game is pretty good with its puzzles and such, and I consider those a form of super easy puzzle. Now you come across puzzles like this where you're like, okay, arrow, helmet, and then a blank. So I'll click on arrow with the player step on button thing that activates when a player steps on it, and then I'm going to go find the helmet. Where is the helmet? Is this the helmet? I don't even know if that's the helmet or not. I don't know why I stepped on that.
This statue of Aphrodite
Uh-oh.
could use an offering.
And what better
And then the
offering
blank.
to give than an apple?
I guess that
In
was
honor
win.
of Ares,
But,
Aphrodite's
you know, someone
promise
just went and tried to step on whatever, they wouldn't know for sure. And then this one doesn't have a clear-cut answer right here on the island. The answer is actually elsewhere, but there is the fresco puzzle to do, so that's something. But I like these little sections. They come with like a little cluster of puzzles, so you don't have to go looking for more. You just come in and do a couple, and then go back to exploring and battling and what have you. So here's that solution I was talking to you about before, but I finally found the apple. Took a little bit. Not too horribly long, but just long enough to make me think. And I bring it back down to this island that I was just on, and I get ready to throw it. And I'm like, well, you know what I could do? I could try to land it right on the pedestal.
As the apple was
Ta-da!
placed in front of Aphrodite's statue, for a moment.
Fun
Phoenix
fact,
swarms.
every loading screen is interactive with both the right analog and the left analog sticks. Now, the Tartarus vaults have got to be, I mean, I consider them a puzzle, but they're a whole bunch of little individual puzzles at the same time. It is... Wow, that was horrible. So anyway, they're my favorite puzzle system in the game. You get a theme, like for example, you have this little light box and a bunch of lasers, and the theme of this puzzle is you're going to figure out all the different ways you can get a little light box made of wood past all these lasers. This one's pretty easy, you just push it underneath them. Next one, you're going to have to figure out a way to get past that laser. There's some cheap ways you can do some of these puzzles. You can try to do it exactly as the creators intended, or you can do crazy things like I do and jump on top of the lasers and say I'm not even going to play that game. And there's also other ways, like for example, Phoenix has the bird that she can use. Not in this puzzle, because it's locked for the Electrum credits. But you can, if you're playing this in the wild, this puzzle exists in the wild, but it also comes back for the credits through a Hermes quest. You can put a statue down using phosphor. I keep forgetting the bird's name because the bird is supposed to be a phoenix, but your character's name is Phoenix, and it's just confusing. But as you can see, I am playing the game in a way that is not supposed to be played right now because I am in it to win it. I am here for the Electrum credits because it wants me to get it done in a certain amount of time, and the only way I can really get it done that quickly is if I just play the game my way and run through a ditch and jump back out of it, even though I probably wasn't supposed to. And I immediately start sprinting, leap of faith, like just go, go, go. And if you're wondering, yes, I did have to choreograph this entire thing that I'm doing here to get through as quick as I could. I had to memorize each of the sections. This was not just chance, this wasn't dumb luck. I'm not so super duper smart that I figured this out super duper quick. I took a couple of runs of experimenting and figuring out exactly what I can get away with. I think there's even a part where I recognized that I might have to take a laser hit, and I just put that in the equation as well. I take one laser hit here, and then I heal, and I should be fine. But it ended up not turning out that way, and I ended up just beating the puzzle, but now I still have to go, go, go. It's worth noting that you should set your sprint button to a different button than the dash button, so that way I could have sprinted across each of those platforms, but I didn't because I didn't have that option set yet. The arrow, the Odysseus myth challenges, I think, had some of the most potential to be just, I don't know, pure entertainment on their own. They probably could have made some kind of badass VR game, in a sense, because, I don't know, being able to control the arrow is really cool, but then figuring out exactly how and when to control the arrow is also pretty cool in its own right. For example, that one I had to wait for a particular timing point before I could shoot the arrow through, otherwise it wasn't going to go through, or it wasn't even going to go in each of those little boxes or towers or whatever. Now this one I thought was really cool too, because they took the time to engineer their puzzles in very innovative ways. This is, of course, God, I almost called it Pong. You know what I'm talking about, though. Pinball. There we go. The other old school game that starts with a P. And so I'm using dash to get back and forth to flick these things so they don't fall down, because I don't want to have to respawn them. I don't have to think about it, but the goal apparently is to get them right up in that centerpiece right there. That one didn't quite make it, but it's not a big deal. I don't think this clip even shows the solution of the puzzle. It's just showing the puzzle in action because of how cool it was. Another great one was they made an arrow, Apollo's arrow challenge out of tic-tac-toe. There's 9 torch stands, braziers, that you can light up with fire, and the first one you light, another random one turns off. You can't light it. Okay, well that's weird. It doesn't seem random because it's almost always right next to it, right? And then you go light a different one, and then all of a sudden another one turns off. You're like, okay, well maybe every time I turn on this one turns off, and I'm supposed to be hitting a certain shape. And you start looking around for different shapes, and you don't really find them, and you come to realize, you're like, wait, if I put this one here, and I put that one there, it puts one on the other end. Oh, that's tic-tac-toe. I see. And then you just have to remember the algorithm, because circle can always win in tic-tac-toe if you do it a certain way. And then it's easy win from there. First time I did it, it didn't count for some reason, but I mean, it's some high-level thinking processes they put into making that one even work. So kudos to them. I like how they do what they do. They don't just give you a simple puzzle. They actually take some real-life puzzles, then they take some real-life concepts, and they take their little game world and they make something real out of it, or they take the real and put it in their game. It's very impressive.
But did someone bring pie? Don't mind me. I'll just cut myself a slice.
I'll take them down.
No! You get out of here! I'll stay and fight.
What? But
Go! I can handle this. Come on, let me take this one.
So the cinematics, pretty well done. I like how they use pretty much the in-game engine for their cinematics. There's no fluff to it. Makes for smooth transitions, short load times. The humor that they put into the game was it's pretty dry sometimes. Not gonna sugarcoat that, but the Zeus and Prometheus jabs that go back and forth throughout the game really help keep it alive, so you're not just bored. Because you don't really have any interaction with any other players. You don't have any interaction with any other NPCs. You talk to Hermes and the gods at the Hall of Gods sometimes when you go to upgrade your stuff. Maybe if you talk to them, you don't even have to talk to them. There's the interaction when you do the story, so there's your interaction. But throughout the game, like just little clips here and there, kind of help keep it flowing. Because there's no shops, there's just Hermes, which he gets kind of boring after a while. But they put a lot of personality into each character enough to make it so that if there's only going to be 6 characters in the game, well, I guess maybe it's more like 8, but they have life to them. Now this was starting to get to the point where I understood my shit pretty damn well. You see, I walked right up to them. They didn't even notice me, and then pulled off my Phosphor Stealth right in time to turn around and attack the most gruesome beast on the list. Although I'm not quite to the point where everything's purple yet, but I'm ready. I understand what does damage. Asbestos Hammer does damage. And I understand how to get through and out and in using Ares Wrath to get out of the center of things after I put myself in the center of things. Knowing exactly what to hit somebody with at the right time. And then I don't think I even took any damage on this fight. Yeah. Yeah, so that was finally the point where I realized, you know what? I think I understand how to fight in this game. And it's a lot simpler than you'll give it credit for, probably. So, starting with a bonk from an Unbreakable Constellation Crystal Ball, you'll see some of this endgame content. It's pretty much how it goes once you understand what's going on. On normal settings, everything gets stunned. You turn around and just use your godly powers whenever you want. You'll see me hit 200 combo here against 2 purple Cyclopses while taking, I think, no damage. It looked like I got hit by that SWAT, but point is, the game gets pretty fun. The game is fun all the way throughout, and when you do all 80 challenges, all 80 myth challenges, and all the Vaults of Tartarus, which I think there's like 40 of those, you do all the... Don't recommend trying to do all the achievements, because this is what I'm doing right here. I'm getting the last one I needed. It just didn't make any sense, but I had to kill 10 creatures with the traps in the vaults. But there's platinum. It was a good game, and I recommend it to anyone.